Network. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
Shot to right, slicing toward the pesky pole, down the line, and it's going to be out of here! Line down the right field line toward the pesky pole, leaping up, and that ball is gone! That's a home run! A lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole, that one tucked in, and that ball is going to be against the wall, and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the pesky pole.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast, episode 84. I'm your host, Ritt. With me, like always, is the OG George Sutherland, and DC will be with us a little bit later. He just had one hell of a thunderstorm rip through his town that he lives in. But George, man, the Angels, you guys were a little bit more optimistic than me. I went 1-2. You guys went 2-1. So, George, I'm going to let you have the floor, and you can definitely announce the next runner-up for the
totally nasty. Be totally nasty.
The Totally Nasty Award.
Right. This Totally Nasty Award for the Angel series goes to Brian Bayo. Did a nice job today. Allowed 2 runs, went 5.1 innings. Did his thing. Struck out 8, walked 2, and gave up 1 gopher ball. But you know what? He settled down and did what he was supposed to do. So he gets the Totally Nasty Award. The OG strikes again.
Yes. And, well, we are going to also name the MVP. Man, 429, George. That's all you got to say. 429.
It was a changeup, and it got out of there in a hurry. That ball just, I'm like, oh my goodness, that went deep. Yeah, I mean, how do you not give him the MVP for the series? And then he followed it up with going deep again today. He's starting to find his stroke. He's starting to hit the off-speed stuff again because nobody was throwing him fastballs because they were afraid they were going to, leave the yard. Well, now he's kind of said, okay, fine, you're going to give me that. I'm going to take what you give me. I'm going to go deep when I can. So he's starting to come out of his funk, as I mentioned this morning in my article. So yeah, he gets the MVP for the series, and rightfully so.
Yeah, Tristan Casas, even in a post-game interview, stated that that was all. He gave it his all. He goes, he couldn't hit that any further, to try to hit the red seat. And man, it's crazy. So
yeah, no, it was a tremendous shot, but yeah, he not quite up in the red seat material, but given how he hits the ball, I don't put it past him.
Well, and it's funny because even David Ortiz has said one time during batting practice he used an aluminum bat and nowhere close. So yeah. That's way out there. But
Teddy could hit him.
Let's sit there and let's talk a little quick. I went and reached out a little post-game show where they had, Tanner Houck on the show, and Pap sit there and was talking how great he's doing this season. And it was ironic of all things that he sit there and said for a brand. He said Houkamania.
Oh my God, that was terrific.
And it was terrific because we already have. So
there you go.
I went and tweeted out, to the fellas to try to get it. Then I kind of reached out to Socks Addict.
There you go.
Socks Addict gave me all their sizes. They're going to get done. They're going to get mailed to her, and she's going to hand them the TC. So
there you go.
We're going to get those shirts into their hands and stuff because, man, it's great branding.
It's good to have friends, isn't it?
Exactly. So, but before we sit there and go to the next series, we're going to sit there and do a quick ad read for our sponsor and announce the contest winner. So, first, join the Red Sox room on district.net /Midwest Box Breaks. They are our sponsor. They are the ones that had picked the winner for a $50 gift card to our store at bsen617.square.site. And it is Emma White. Emma White, we're going to sit there and throw a shout out to you on Twitter for you to DM Daniels to claim your prize you won. So congratulations. We've got great merchandise from the Celtics to the Bruins. George, you went and ordered a nice puck around and find out hoodie for someone in your family.
I did.
We got some great Pats gear, and of course we got our Red Sox gear, and of course we've got the Hulkamania shirt. So
and a fine collection of adult beverage glasses as well.
Oh yes, we can't forget about them, George. You have, I think, the complete set. So
I do.
But guys, so coming up now, tomorrow, Marathon Monday, 11 o'clock game. Gotta love that. I've always that's one of my goals is to go to Marathon Monday game because it's special. You know what I mean? So, but we are playing another 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians, and this is a little bit different pitching staff from the Guardians. No, we're not sitting there and having a wild thing out there. That's not these Guardians. So, but with us today is a special podcaster who helps cover the Cleveland Guardians. Let's bring him on now. Let's bring on James. James, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you guys doing for Sunday night?
Excellent, man.
So,
yeah, trying to deal with the series that we just finished up with the Yankees. Yankees came into Cleveland, took 2 out of 3. We were able to salvage Game 3 today on extra innings. So we didn't do a lot of help for the Red Sox fans by taking out the Yankees and sweeping them this weekend. But hopefully the next series we get to play against them, we'll do a little bit better.
Well, I seen on Twitter, I think it was Ballpark Buzz that retweeted it, a shirt that says, when the Yankees lose, the Red Sox win. Or when New York loses, Boston wins. So you guys helped us out with, a little bit today. But tell us a little bit about you, James, where you're from, the podcast you're part, and the brand you're part.
So myself, I joined Believeland Media here in Northeast Ohio. It's been almost 2 years now. We have a show during baseball season called Guardians of the CLE. And most of our following is on X, but we are expanding out through Facebook, through Instagram, through TikTok, through Believeland Media. We're trying to grow our brand. But we've had some good guests on in the past, the minor leaguers, typically in the off season. One of our dugout reporters, Andre Knott, has been on in the past. We've had ESPN 30 for 30 Believeland director Andy Billman on as a guest. Just a super good guy, huge Cleveland fan. Put together a nice piece. He also did a documentary that is on Apple TV and Amazon Prime called War on the Diamond. It's the history of, many Red Sox fans probably don't know the depth of the Cleveland Indians history against the Yankees. We actually, many years ago, a pitcher in the Yankees on the Yankees team actually hit one of our players, Ray Chapman, in the head, and eventually he passed away, being I believe the only player to have passed away from a situation that happened where he got hit in the head, hit in the temple on the field. So there is a Ray Chapman plaque at Progressive Field to honor his memory. That it's been a long, long time since that happened, but we still have a pretty deep history with the Yankees as far as trying to keep adding to that, and hopefully maybe something this year in the playoffs where the Sox get in there. the Yankees get in there, and then also our Cleveland Guardians get in there with our nice 10-5 start. So we're excited here in this area. I live about 10 minutes from the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Massillon, Ohio. The Hall of Fame is in Canton, so if you ever get in our area, please check out the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also. That is downtown Cleveland, next door to Cleveland Browns Stadium. So those are probably our big draws as far as anybody wanting to come and to visit our area and check out our passion for sports and our passion for music in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, you mentioned like Cleveland and the Yankees have a history, but if you look at Cleveland and Boston, some key faces have been with both parts of the organization. And James, you and I were talking about this. Manny being Manny Ramirez.
Yeah.
He was with you before he came over, and really started to shine a little bit more. And Terry Francona is another one. Yeah, about he was with us and then he went with you. So talk a little bit about that.
Manny coming up here in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, was special just in this area. 1994 is when Jacobs Field, now Progressive Field, opened up. The goal in 93, before they actually moved over, was to have the Sandy Alomars, the Carlos Baergas, the Joey Bell at the time before he became Albert Bell, and then Manny Ramirez, Jim Thome. So this team was built in the 90s on offense, and when they went to Progressive Field, 94 started out with had a nice season, but then the strike happened, shutting that down. The Expos, I believe, were had the most wins in the National League, potentially setting up a World Series there, but that was never to be. But 95 was the season of dreams here in Northeast Ohio, with the Indians winning 100 games, and then playing the Red Sox in that first series. And that would have been a 3-game series, and taking that series to get the momentum to go on to Seattle, win that series, and make it to their first World Series since 1954 back then. So Manny coming up, being a big part of that, being nicknamed the Baby Bull here. I don't know if Red Sox fans really heard that once he joined the Red Sox, but yeah, Baby Bull is what he came up as. And we experienced probably not as much Manny being Manny, or at least it wasn't termed that back then, but yeah, the base running blunders, and I think he hit one just short of he thought it was started a home run trot, and it actually didn't go out. So yeah, I mean, I know you guys, sure, you can go onto YouTube and find Manny highlights, if you will. But what an entertaining player, but what a sweet swing. That's back when I still played, men's softball leagues, and man, what a right-handed swing Manny had, and was just such a popular player here. And just recently joined the Guardians Hall of Fame with the team. But to go on to Terry Francona, and I know how deeply he's loved in Boston for breaking the curse there. Came to Cleveland, his father had played for his father Tito, which Terry was going by that nickname as well. Played baseball here. Terry played here a little bit after his time with the Expos for a short period, but then became our manager for 11 seasons before retiring last year. And Terry almost pulled it off. He almost got 2016 up 3-1 on the Cubs. And just unfortunately, we could not close that series. City of Cleveland was coming off a massive high, including myself. The Cavaliers winning the championship in 2016. And we were looking to try to back it up with a Indians World Series championship. I don't know how I would have handled myself with 2 championships in one season, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. It was the Cubs season to break their streak. So now, as a Cleveland fan, as a Guardians fan, the Indians are still Chief Wahoo. Everything is still loved in this area. But we are at a 76-year streak of not winning a World Series since 1948. So if there's anybody out there that would understand the length of a championship shortage, it would be Red Sox fans. So, and you guys, Terry helped that. And also when John Farrell was there, former Cleveland Indians pitcher as well, it was really neat for myself to look from a distance and see Cleveland players and Cleveland background on your championship teams.
Yeah. George, do you have any Francona or even some Manny moments?
Two of my favorite Manny moments. One, disappearing into the wall for a bio break, and the second was the cutting off of a ball coming in.
Yes,
from the outfield. With him, you just couldn't make the stuff up. I mean, Manny being Manny just became what it was, and there's was it the one with Julian Tavares where when Tavares was pitching, he was like massaging his head, and Tavares didn't want any part of it or something like that, and it had Remy and company, absolutely delirious with laughter in the booth. But he special ball player. I mean, when he connected with the baseball, it was generally out of the park. But when the synapses weren't quite working well, you never knew what you were going to get, but it was always entertaining. So
yes, definitely. I mean, we were well entertained here in Cleveland as well. That cutoff throw from where he cut off Johnny Damon's throw was just, it's still legend to me. But yeah, those were great times with Manny Ramirez. So really enjoyed his time here and in Boston.
Yeah. So, but we have a 4-game series coming up with Cleveland, and it's not the same Cleveland that I remember, especially the pitching staff. You guys had Bieber go down for the season, so that really that's just one of how many countless injuries of elbows this season. But you guys do have some young guys that are going to be filling in for you and taking over. So let's sit there and go into the series. Tomorrow we have, for the marathon game, we're throwing out Cutter Crawford. He's personally one of my favorites. I might have to sit there and throw Halcomb, above him or close to him, just because the connection now. But you guys are throwing out Curry, who hasn't pitched, or started a game, I should say. So tell the Red Sox fans, what we can expect from Curry, and George can sit there and talk about Crawford.
Yeah, Xavier Curry, somebody that's he's did spot starts, kind of long relief in the bullpen as well in the past. He is somebody that if you can get 5 out of him, and that's your max. If you could get 6, that's like a bonus inning. But he's really somebody more that's more for long relief. But these spot starts like this one tomorrow, which it's an honor, I'm sure, for him to pitch in the marathon game tomorrow, to be back up with the team. But he's had a few good starts down at AAA. So hopefully that carries on into Boston for the Guardians, because over this weekend, I mentioned in the Yankee series, only getting one of those 3 games and escaping with that one today. A lot of walks from our pitching staff this weekend. If it wasn't for double plays and good defense, the scores wouldn't even been as close as they were in those losses. So hopefully Curry can give us 5 tomorrow. And just have a solid start. He's not going to blow you away, and have 8 strikeouts by the 5th inning, if he can pitch 5. So I think that's what we're looking at as a Guardians fan. Give us 5 tomorrow. Try to hold a lead and go from there for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, you're kind of where we was last year, trying to find anybody and everybody just to be able to give us 4 or 5 innings, because our pitching staff last year was really banged up. We had Pavetta go on the IL, but he's supposed to come back. I think he's only supposed to miss 2 starts. But we have Cooper Criswell, which you guys are going to see in Game 4. He came in, pitched 4 innings. But George, you want to sit there and Cutter Crawford? He's been holding his own. This whole Red Sox, it's hard to sit there and think when we will look at the season now that Bayo would have the highest ERA out of our pitching staff. I wouldn't have believed it during spring training.
Yeah, Bayo. I think everybody expected him to be the new anointed ace with his extension. 2 winters working with Pedro Martinez. Everybody's expecting big things out of him. He's still growing. What he has done is he's learned to pitch better when he doesn't have his best stuff. So good pitchers do that. So he's coming along. But Cutter Crawford, James, just to let you know, Cutter Crawford is Ritt's favorite starting pitcher, bar none. Okay. So just that's the full disclosure piece of this. Crawford had a good outing. I mean, the last time he was out, he struck out 6. He did walk 4, gave up a couple of hits, but he left with the lead, and then the bullpen coughed it up later. He's growing into the role. He's the number 3 starter in this club right now. He is through 125 innings. I expect to see him do 150 to 170 this year. Another one that can consistently give you 5, soon to be 6 or 7. He's got to get over that, get the 3rd time through the order thing squared away. But he's pitched reasonably well. He's got a sub 1 ERA. But he's grown into the position. I think Ritt and I can safely say that that's one of his strengths, is that he doesn't seem to get flustered. And just goes out there and does his job. Yeah,
so I'm excited to see Crawford out there again, because this Cleveland lineup, is just like Baltimore's. It's pretty. It's not as young, but the bats are there, and they have a superstar in Ramirez there that you can't pitch around them. You can't, because he won't swing. So you have to come at him and try to hope that, he's able to strike out. So Game 2, you guys are throwing BB. So he's kind of, is he kind of like your ace now with Bieber being out?
There's a lot of people that think that. In fact, there's been local media here that has said that, as far as kind of bold predictions for the season, that Tanner Bybee would actually get some Cy Young votes this year after finishing 2nd in the Rookie of the Year last year, which, there's a little bit of debate around here that, we wish that there was kind of a Rookie of the Year for pitchers and then like a Rookie of the Year for hitters. Would have been great because Tanner was, definitely helping us big time last year with Shane Bieber being out, Tristan McKenzie being out most of the season as well. So he really stepped up. Didn't start with the team at the start of last season either. He came up, and then also there's another pitcher that's another young pitcher that's injured right now, but should be back very shortly. Gavin Williams, that was when he was drafted, was compared to Garrett Cole. So a big guy that can throw, high 90s, mid to high 90s, and has good stuff. So, Tanner's a solid guy. Had his dad on the podcast before. Great interview, great baseball guy. And in fact, Scott's a California guy, his dad. And when he did the interview, he sat in a pair of Dodgers seats that he had bought from the stadium. So his love of the Dodgers has helped lead to an Oral Hershiser, who ended up pitching for the Indians in the mid-90s. That's kind of that bulldog mentality that he's built into his son, Tanner, on the mound. So if you see any similarities to Oral Hershiser when Tanner is pitching, That's kind of where it comes from.
And he's going against Garrett Whitlock. George, you want to sit there and talk about Whitlock? It's kind of ironic, because Whitlock was kind of like the right-handed version, they said, of Chris Sale with the delivery. So,
yeah, Whitlock in his last outing, he was pretty effective. Another cough up from the pen in the Orioles series there, but he's got a tremendous sweeper, and a couple of years ago he was almost automatic coming out of the bullpen, but he wanted to be a starter. Things didn't work out really well for him last year, with injuries and stuff like that. But he started out fairly well, and coming out of camp, we were thinking, most of us were thinking that he'd be in the pen, and he wouldn't make the starting rotation, but he actually, earned himself the number 4 slot by the way he pitched down in Florida. So he's done a really good job. You should expect some really, well, we've come to a phrase we use here, the totally nasty stuff. He can make a batter look foolish with some of his breaking stuff, and he keeps hitters off balance as well. Gamer on the mound and just totally focused. He's and Ritt will tell you the same thing. Laser focus on the mound, just tunnel vision, and then he just goes about his business and does it very, very well.
Yeah, like George said, Whitlock and Houck weren't supposed to be in the rotation. They were supposed to be bullpen pieces, or one, if not both, were supposed to be in the bullpen. So, but with us bringing in Bailey, he's worked with them. He's worked with our whole pitching staff, and not only just in the majors, but the whole pitching program through the minors leagues. I've talked to Theo Denlinger, I've talked to Alex Hoppe, and both of them said that the new pitching development it's works. It's you sit there and you see him pitching the pitches at a different ratio now. Like Kenley Jansen last year, he was throwing his cutter at like 78%. Well, now he's up to 91%. And the only problem with Kenley is sometimes he cannot hit the strike zone whatsoever. So I'm really sitting there and looking forward to this pitching staff to see what's going to be the end result. So game 3, you guys got Lively. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, he's kind of new to me too. So the Guardians picked him up in the offseason from the Reds. Nothing blows you away looking at his stats. He's kind of a pitcher that's more an innings filler, if anything. Last year we had, in previous years too, a Cal Quantrill that was in the rotation where he would show up and look and have some really good starts and then just kind of fall off on other ones. So I don't have a lot of expectations for Lively, but then again, I don't know enough about him to really have solid judgment. But what he can provide. If we have another injury in the rotation and he gets maybe becomes a 5th starter, but I really think that's more where Curry might slide into if he can take on the innings toll that a major league season is going to give him. So yeah, as far as Lively goes, I really don't have a lot of information on him. Your guess honestly would be as good as mine as far as how he would perform there in this series.
Yeah, and he's going up against our boy Houkamania, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck's been killing it. 2-1 this season, 2.04 ERA, 19 Ks. Man, he's going out there and proving everybody wrong. He's been going through the lineup, fairly easily. Going through the lineup twice. making it through, halfway through the third time. And that was one of his biggest struggles last season, and then season, besides injuries. So, George, well, what about Tanner Houck?
Well, the Tanner Houck was basically lights out for his first two starts. He threw, 2 6-inning outings, didn't allow a single run. Got lit up in his last outing. Had nothing. It showed. He tried to gut it out, but had nothing. But he's another one of the Focus brothers. He and Whitlock. He just goes out there and gets it done. And he's matured, I think, under Bailey. He's got more confidence in his stuff, and that's enabled him to go, at least in the first two starts, 6 innings. And he's had electric stuff when he's on. So, we'd like to see an on performance this time as opposed to what happened Friday night. So,
yeah. And then James, well, I don't have who you guys are starting for Game 4. Do you have any ideas who it could be?
Yeah, I was trying to look at that myself. I could not find any information because, with Curry and Lively being in there, with Tanner Bybee in between, that's Curry and Lively's first starts of the season from being down at AAA. There's potential for maybe a Logan Allen that's in there. He's our left-handed, another young guy like last year. So Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, Logan Allen came up from the minors, and to use 3 rookies to help solidify a rotation last year. Very impressive for our young pitching staff. Our organization is known as a pitching factory. We have some very good arms still, even in the minors yet. I covered the Akron Rubber Ducks, our AA team, on their home opener. And there's a guy, Nick Hazy, left-handed pitcher that pitched 5 no-hit innings and then had another second great start on his second start. So there's depth in our organization of pitching. That's something that we have. Our offense has improved this season. Stephen Kwan leading off, our Gold Glove left fielder, is somebody to watch. So it'd be interesting to see how he plays balls off the monster. So keep an eye on him, but also he's swinging a hot bat to start the season. Last year, with as young as our team is, just didn't really hit expectations. But this year, coming out of the gate, there's been a new hitting coach, different approach at the plate. So expect them to, maybe look at the first pitch, but be more aggressive on something on the second pitch. So that's something that's changed with the team this year. Andres Jimenez, the Gold Glove second baseman, is now batting second in front of Jose Ramirez. And he started out pretty well as well. And don't hit the ball to him because he's been a vacuum there at second base to start this season. And then we also have Josh Naylor, our first baseman. This is someone that reminds me more of maybe a David Ortiz light, to where he does play first base, but we do have a high prospect down at AAA called Kyle. His name's Kyle Manzardo. They got him in the trade with Tampa at the deadline for Aaron Savali. So we expect to see him up sometime this season. And I would like to see Naylor more go into that DH role, because I believe Manzardo has the better glove at first base. But as far as this series go, you will not see Kyle Manzardo, but you hopefully will see a pretty decent Josh Naylor at the plate.
Yeah. First off, Kwan, I love him. He's in my fantasy league. Yeah, and I think he leads the American League in is it hits or runs? I think it's hits.
Yeah, I think I have to look at that too. He's on my team, and yeah, runs and hits are definitely up there for him.
Yeah. So, but if you could sit there and pick, in your infield, you sit there and said Jimenez is like a vacuum. George, you can sit there and talk about our middle infield and how it's a vacuum, but it's on reverse because, once we lost Trevor Story, it's absolute chaos there. And I'm nothing against David Hamilton. Like, he's doing the best he can because he's not an actual shortstop. He's a second baseman, and he can go from one play being absolutely amazing like he did today to, not getting his glove down and the ball getting by him. So, George?
Yeah, our infield, we'll start with the good and Tristan Casas at first base. He's matured as a hitter and as a first baseman. He's playing a lot better. My biggest complaint, and I used to scream this all the time, was get off the bag. Save your fellow infielder on a throw. He's learned that skill. The other day, he laid out for one that I still don't know how he caught. He was like, midair snagged it, went down hard, get up, and like nothing happened. Second base has been a problem for us. When we traded Chris Sale away, we got Vaughn Grissom from the Braves. Grissom got hurt in spring training. Still waiting to see him. We've had Manuel Valdez over there, somebody we picked up in the Vasquez trade with the Astros a couple of years ago. Can hit. His glove is suspect. They just want him to make the play he's supposed to, not expecting much else. He will have mental lapses around the infield a little bit, so we're hoping that comes back and kind of straightens itself away. Reyes has been the around the field backup, a better defender than Valdez and can play, but like any utility player, more is less. Shortstop, and this is Ritt's point is well taken. There's not a slam against David Hamilton. David Hamilton is an average shortstop, but he's trying to take the place of a very plus defender in Trevor Story. So you're comparing apples and oranges. The only common theme in their play is the fact that they both have speed, and Hamilton wins that hands down. He is lightning fast. If he gets on base, he's a threat to steal every time. He's an average shortstop, and that's what he is. And he will do okay, but he's not Trevor Story. And Trevor Story seemed to have settled things down when he started the season. He was making plays that we didn't see last year. We had the Kiki Hernandez disaster at shortstop until Story came back last year. Things were starting to look up, and then when he dislocated his shoulder and he needs some surgery to get that fixed. That was a big gut punch to the team. And at third base, Rafi Devers, he hasn't been in there now for, what is it? Is it 4 or 5 now games, Ritt? I think it's
4 games.
They
said that he might play tomorrow. So,
with Rafi, you take the good with the bad. I mean, we all know that he can hit anything long, and you're starting to take the ball, in the opposite direction a lot in spring training and when the season opened. But he's got a left shoulder problem. Hopefully he can come back from that. In the meantime, we got Bobby Dahlbeck holding it down, who's done a very good job defensively over there. Just, he's 0 for the season right now. And
he got on base today, though.
He's got a fan
club. On base.
He got on base, but he's 0 for the season. He's got a fan base that loves him, okay, and wishes he was playing for another major league team so he'd have a full-time chance. But he's hanging in there, and right now it's bubblegum, Band-Aids, and baling wire that's keeping the infield together until they figure out what's going on.
Hey guys, I wanted to mention as far as the Guardians go at shortstop, going into spring training, it was kind of like a 3-headed monster, but one of the 3 was looking to be moved into center field, and that's Tyler Freeman. So Tyler Freeman, young, very athletic center fielder, swings a much better bat than our Gold Glove winning center fielder Miles Straw, who had 1 home run last year, which we were not getting any home runs really out of our outfield with, what Stephen Kwan can do, from speed to hitting for average to scoring runs. But Tyler Freeman has looked pretty good out in center field for us and has added to the offense by being able to hit. Gabriel Arias, the third one, has accepted a utility role. So you may see him at shortstop, third base, even first base. And he had a home run today, so he's got a little bit of power. But once again, youth is there for our team, and guys are still in prove it mode. Right field, really, Will Brennan's kind of holding the fort down until our big prospect, Chase DeLauder. If Sox fans have not heard of him, he had an excellent spring, but every time I get excited for spring, I want to think of preseason football and try to not get too excited because you know how that goes, right? It's just preseason, it's spring trainings. But he's a young man that is down at AA, Akron Rubber Ducks, and will eventually and hopefully make it up to the big leagues this season. But he's a heck of a bat, left-handed hitter, and so guys are just kind of holding the fort down there in right field until DeLauder can make his major league presence known.
Yeah, our outfield is our shining light right now. All three can, cover a tremendous amount of field, from Jaron Duran over there in left to who I like to call the human highlight reel out there in newly dubbed Sedane Field, Sedane Rafaela. And then we've got one half of the Super Smash Brothers who, has 7 home runs already with Tyler O'Neill. So, man, it's George. Can you sit there and remember when we had? It's got to go back to 2018. This much of an athletic outfield.
Yeah. It's a very athletic outfield. Speed. You get some power. O'Neill has just taken off. He looks like he did when he broke out in was it 21 or 22 with 21 with the Cardinals. He's in a 1 year with the Red Sox. He's just, he holds the major league record now for consecutive years hitting a home run in his first game of the season and opening day. So, and then he kind of followed that up with the home run on against the Orioles on home opening day as well. But yeah, he's smacked 7 round trippers so far. And he's jacked, okay, but he's incredibly fast and plays an outstanding outfield. And he went 2 Gold Gloves as a left field, but he's been doing a lot of right field for us and has looked very, very comfortable. And, if you know anything about Fenway, right field in Fenway can be a torture chamber for outfielders. And he's done very, very well over there. And then, Sedane Rafaela, I've watched him come through the system, got a chance to see him play at AA Portland last year. The kid can make a catch. And he's starting to get a reputation that runners don't tend to want to stray too far off the bag because he can go snag a ball and then they've got to retreat and quickly because he's not afraid to do a spin and throw and try to get the runner out. So yeah, he's and he came up as a shortstop, but he can play plus shortstop and is certainly, if not in the next year, 2 years, he's going to be a Gold Glove center fielder and a very good one.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, James. How do you think your young outfield is going to do? Coming to Fenway Park with all the, I call it the Bermuda Triangle out there in center, to the pesky pole there in right. Then you got the green monster in left. That is probably the hardest ballpark to judge the outfield overall.
Well, Kwan, I don't have any worries about because of him being a Gold Glover. Already played there. Doesn't have a lot of games under his belt in Fenway, but if there's somebody that I have some confidence with, it would be Kwan. Now, I was mentioning Tyler Freeman, the young center fielder. This is the first time he's played at the big league level as our full-time center fielder. So that'll be something to watch this series to see how he handles that. And then Will Brennan, and then if we platoon Ramon Laureano, who started out with the A's last year, joined the Guardians towards the end of the season, is also on the team. Our rookie manager, Stephen Vogt. Ramon was one of his teammates at the time in Oakland. You'll see him right-handed bat, can play several outfield positions. But yeah, I'll be curious to see how we do handle that. That is correct. Especially Tyler Freeman is the one that I want to see be able to handle that in a mature manner. How to play it off the wall. I'm sure he's got the Kwan's a guy that he can really talk to. Super smart kid, and hopefully we'll see.
Yeah. So let's switch it over now to the bullpen. The bullpen for us used to be a strength, but recently it's been a roller coaster ride for us. Joely Rodriguez, he started out really, oh my goodness, like people didn't want him, like just send them back down. Now all of a sudden he's been able to come in, do his job, get out of innings, and he's looking a lot better. We've got Josh Winkowski, who easily is probably him and Anderson are both the two that long relief if need be for us. We've got Campbell, and he's after the other night. It's a little rough for him right now.
They hit two tough ones, yeah.
Yeah, but then we got two guys, Weitzert and Slayton, who are doing really well for us. Like George Slayton was what he was the Rule 5 pickup.
He's a Rule 5 pick. Yeah. The thing with him is he is not afraid. He goes out there and he throws his own game. And he actually gave up his first earned run today. Mm-hmm. And he had been throwing goose eggs up until today. Mike Trout hit a triple off of him. No shame there. He does that to everybody. And Trout scored on a ground out. But he had allowed his first earned run. He's a rookie. He's a Rule 5 kid. Mm-hmm. Goes out there, just shows no fear, and has looked extremely effective. And somebody that Cora has come to depend on, and he's been brilliant so far. Don't want to jinx the kid, but I'm very, very impressed with what I've seen every time he goes out on the mound. So he's somebody you should look out for. And then at the back end of the pen, the two strengths that should be there, Chris Martin had a horrible outing the last time, something we weren't expecting. And Kenley Jansen he didn't pitch much in the spring, and I still think he's shaking pieces of rust off. He's not a young kid anymore. And I think he still needs a couple of more outings to get into his true form, which is when he's on, he's lights out. But yeah, those are the two at the end that we didn't think we'd have problems, and then suddenly, there's question marks.
Kenley's given up a lot of walks. He just gave up his first run of the season today. So and with today's save puts him tied for fifth all time with John Franco. So he worries me, seeing him out there.
Yeah.
But somehow he always, gets through what he needs to. He walked.
It's a high wire act.
He walked the bases loaded, and then got out of it. Going against Mike Trout today, of all people. Like that's something you don't want to face. That'll be like us facing the Guardians and having to face bases loaded with Ramirez. Like it's something you don't want to sit there and put yourself in that predicament. But James, what about your bullpen? Because it's a new look bullpen for you this year.
Yeah, a little bit. Trevor Stephan, our right-handed top setup guy, could pitch multiple innings, is out for the season with an injury. Our other tall left-hander that would basically fit the same role, Sam Henches, he's currently out injured, but will be back this season. So those are your two guys that are in front of our super closer, Emmanuel Clase, who's led the league in saves the last couple of years. So being an all-star, he's been our staple in that bullpen to shore everything up. We did add Scott Barlow, has some closing experience to help be a setup guy, but also a Hunter Gaddis. He's somebody that started the season last year as a starter, but then this season is actually in our bullpen and is working multiple innings. So he's somebody that can throw hard, can work multiple innings, and maybe fill in that Trevor Steffen role for holds this season. Tim Herron's a left-hander that's pretty decent. So we have some good young arms. James Karinchak, you mentioned about Wild Thing. That's that. If there's anybody that's Wild Thing, James Karinchak, our right-handed pitcher. We look to get him back, I believe, this season as well. But throws hard. But he's somebody that when the pitch clock came into play last year, he's tough to watch on the mound because he's very antsy out there. A lot of animation going on before he pitches. And so hopefully we'll get him back this year. But the bullpen going into the All-Star break for Cleveland was the top bullpen in the league last year in the American League. And so that is something that we can lean on, and it helps with our young starters to know that they got some guys that can pitch coming out of that pen each game.
Yeah, we relied on it last year heavily, but then, coming in late August, early September, that burns out your bullpen a lot if your starters can only go 4 innings, 5 innings.
Well, it's funny you said that because there's a lot of people here in Cleveland that used to kill Terry Francona about how he would just destroy our bullpen and just wear them out. And if you need somebody there in Boston, somebody that was just designated for assignment was former Indian Brian Shaw. So I was there at opening day against the White Sox. Brian Shaw, thankfully, threw a pitch for Jose Ramirez to hit a home run. Guardians won 4-0 in the opener. So Brian Shaw still out there looking to help Cleveland baseball. But yeah, he's a guy that's just a master of appearances. And sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's not. But I expect him to bounce back on a major league roster this season.
So, okay, James, we're going to sit there and play our awards game, So we have 2 awards, and then we'll pick the series record. So Totally Nasty Award is the award that George came up with, out of sheer coincidence. And that is kind of like the Cy Young of the series. Then we will pick the series MVP. And then, we'll pick the series record for overall. So I'll start off with George. George, who do you think is going to get your vote for Totally Nasty Award?
I'm going to go with Tanner Houck. I think he bounces back and comes up with a pretty special performance this time around.
Okay. James, who are you going to be taking for the Totally Nasty Award?
Well, I think a Nasty Award. I think of the Nasty Boys bullpen from the Reds. I think of the Nasty Boys from WWF. But for the Guardians, I have to think of the Bulldog that I mentioned, Tanner Bybee, coming in that second game. So I really think he'll come in. Hopefully we can get 7. The bullpen could be taxed this series because of 2 guys making their first start of the season. So I really believe they're going to want to extend and Tanner to have a successful start in that second game of the series. So, yeah, Tanner Bybee for me.
Okay. DC went and texted. He's taken Whitlock for his Totally Nasty Award.
Okay.
So, and George, so we're not taking all the same because that points race is getting a little close for me. I was going to go Houck. I was going to go Houck.
You got his T-shirt. What are you worried about?
I'm taking Cutter Crawford. So Cutter Crawford will be my pick for the Totally Nasty Award. So MVP of the series. Okay. George, who are you taking for the MVP?
Masataka Yoshida. He looks like he's found his stroke, and he looks like he's about ready to go on one of those streaks that he can go on.
George.
Did I do it again?
Yes, that's who I was taking.
James, we sometimes we talk about it
Guardian
beforehand, and other times we don't.
So I will also take Massa. I can't sit there and I can't shy away. He's on a 15 game on base streak. His bat's coming on. He hit a home run today. So DC is taking Tristan Casas for the series.
Okay.
So James, who are you taking for the MVP?
Well, I mentioned Stephen Kwan swinging a hot bat, getting on base, Gold Glover, but I really think that the team's going to need Josh Naylor for this series with that pesky pole. They're going to need to get some home runs, and I'm hoping Josh starts to get hot this series. And don't pitch to him in the late innings. He is somebody that has big hits late in the game, which kind of, once again, when I mentioned David Ortiz light, that's kind of what he reminds me of, that clutch hitter late in the game. So for me, I think being on the road, you just lost your first series against the Yankees, 2 out of 3. Big series. Last year, the team struggled beating winning clubs. So this is a big one to start the season on the road here in Boston against a very good team. Josh Naylor is my pick.
Okay. So let's go series now. It's a 4-game series. DC did not take. So, George, what about you? What do you think the record-wise? It's a 4-game series. It's a 4-game series, George.
Oh, 2-1. Sorry. Oh, shoot. You're right. Sox.
So you're saying 3-1?
3-1.
Okay. James, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2. I think if the Guardians can lead Boston with a split, considering the two guys starting their first games of the year, and coming off, like I said, that Yankees series where the pitching, was putting a lot of guys on base without bats being used with too many walks. If they can escape with 2-2, I think that's a improvement over last year's team.
Well, James, I'm going to sit there and piggyback off of you. I think it's going to be 2-2 for the series. And I'm thinking DC will be going 3-1. He said 3-0, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to go for the sweep. So, but okay, guys. What was that?
I was going to mention last year that with the Guardians, they couldn't win more than 5 games in a row, and they couldn't lose more than 5 games in a row. It seemed like that was their pattern last year. They just couldn't put the big win streak together, but was able to fend off a big losing streak. So hopefully we don't go 0-4 in Boston.
With our errors that we have been producing, it is absolutely ridiculous. So I just don't see him sweeping it. That would be almost impossible for us to sit there and not go 4 games without more than, 1 error. So, but okay, guys. James, I'll give any final thoughts. This time is yours to promote, your brand and your podcast.
Well, I want to start off by, thanking you guys for reaching out to Kevin at Believeland Media to have me on. Takes me back a little bit. I was born in 1974 in Cleveland. My parents, my father took a job there in the Boston area, lived in Worcester, Mass. And I think I pronounced that correctly. And we were there for about 2 years. But, I was 1 year old when I was there for the 1975 World Series against the Reds. Unfortunately, I did remember nothing because once again, I was 1 year old. But
George remembers it like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
Not
moved
lying.
back to the Cleveland. Yeah, moved back to the Cleveland area, and been a Cleveland fan through and through. My mother's side, diehard Cleveland fan. My dad was actually from the Maryland area. Was more a Orioles and Pirates fan, but adapted as he had lived here now his basically the whole adult life after he came back from Vietnam, living in the Cleveland area. So deep rooted Cleveland fans here within my family. Thankful to be a part of Believeland Media, where there's also deep rooted Cleveland fans all throughout our group. I'm thankful to represent and co-host the Guardians of the CLE. Like I said, you can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. But yeah, anybody that's a Cleveland fan wants to follow an out-of-market team there in the New England area, please check us out. And we appreciate it very much.
Well, James, I've got to ask this question. You said several times Cleveland deep-rooted fan. So what happened when the Browns moved
Well, and
to
that's
Baltimore?
When that happened in '95. Remember, that was the end of the '95 season. So the Indians had that magic run of '95 going into the World Series. And a lot of the money in the city, now people are going, wow, look, we have a beautiful baseball field, and we cannot believe that this is in downtown Cleveland. It started a stretch of 455 straight sellouts. And for Cleveland, that was phenomenal. But they also didn't have the Browns to compete with for tickets or for merchandise. So much money was being dumped into our team. And Dick Jacobs being our owner, I really think that was a lot of our success. We had a young core that came up together, but also they mixed in the Dave Winfields and the Tony Peñas and the Dennis Martinez and the Oral Hersheyers. So it was a great mix of very talented youth with great veteran leadership and post game playoff experience. So I'm hoping that this young team that we have now, that after this year, because rumor around here is we had issues with our TV deal. There was some money lost last year. They've renovated Progressive Field, but it's only the first stage of it. But they removed a lot of seats, and then a lot of seats that are in the building they replaced. So there's a lot more standing room only. Kind of neat for a ballpark pass. I mean, I'm sure this price is going to kind of blow your guys' mind away, but for $49, you can get a ballpark pass to attend home games for a month, but it's standing room only. $49. So it's a great way to get people, especially young people that just want to come in, socialize, have some beers. They got a lot of local eateries and breweries inside the stadium to help draw fans. So it's an exciting time and a little more optimism this year than last year. But we are prepared to, if we would have had Shane Bieber for the entire season, if it goes to All-Star break and the trade deadline comes around, I think that's why a Scott Barlow's there in case there's an offer that can't be refused for some of our star players. And we thought Bieber might be one of those. In fact, even last season, well, not last season because he was injured, but Shane Bieber was, trade bait, hoping that we could get something for him, but then also hoping he can turn it around and maybe make us compete this year. So unfortunately that's lost for the season, but should be a fun summer here in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's one thing that you can always look forward to in the AL Central. You never ever know who's going to come out of the AL Central because it's a rotating, carousel. You guys 1 year, then all of a sudden the Twins go. The White Sox had a great run. The Royals had a great run. So you absolutely never know who's going to win that division. And then, us over here in the AL East, it's a straight out dogfight, it seems, except for us for the past couple of seasons. But it's crazy. So, but guys,
right now the basement is 8-8, so you guys don't even have a losing record in your division. the AL Central is something that the Cleveland franchise has feasted off of. Last year's balanced schedule changed that, not playing as many games against teams that aren't as good. Therefore, the win record, was down last year. So hopefully this year they can compete a little bit more against teams with winning records. And I did want to say too, good luck to Red Sox Nation out there this season.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, James, for coming on. We here at the Pesky Podcast, our formula is, bring on a podcaster, a super fan, a writer that covers each team, so we can sit and discuss, the series, the matchups, the young talent that's, possibly be able to see, and then for when you guys retweet everything, the Cleveland fans get to hear about the Red Sox and get themselves familiar. So when they're watching the game, they're like, man, I remember when James was sitting there talking about, how hot Quan's doing, and he's just tearing us up. That's what we try to do here. And, so far the formulas work for us.
Yeah, and it's for the love of the game. I'm a baseball fan first. Baseball cards, baseball video games, Big League Chew, sunflower seeds, sticker albums, whatever, it was always fun to collect baseball and be around baseball. And I still enjoy it to this day, just like I did as a kid.
Yeah. So make sure you guys check us out at our YouTube channel. It's at BSCN617. We are well on our way now for the 2K mark. We are at 1.5K, which was fantastic, and it was greatly a big thing from Jutt's Wakefield video that he put up there, which was a great video. We played it last week, so guys, head on over and check it out. Make sure you also go and check out us out on all major platforms: iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. So, and then check us out tomorrow night is a special bonus episode. We got minor league Greenville Drive starter David Enner Sandlin. He's going to be coming on our podcast. I cannot wait. Got a little special intro for him. George, you know how we do it here. So, but guys, got to check it out. 8 p.m. tomorrow night. But for George, the OG, for James, and for myself, thanks for checking us out on the Pesky Podcast.